howdy. It is another edition of Hats Hits IG Live. It's coming to you a little later than we had hoped, past midnight on this Friday, now into Saturday morning, October the 25th now. No, October the 26th now here, the year 2024. We'll try to keep this as abbreviated as we can as we talk to you with my Hats Hits special after a wild night of sports, and there's still some sports going on as I speak to you all close to 1 a.m. in the East, because you've got Boise State taking on UNLV right now, 20-10. The Broncos doubling up the Rebels in a Mountain West showdown on CBS Sports Network, which I got my eye peeled on that in the corner here. But we've also got a lot of high school football action to talk about with all of you around the Commonwealth of VA, our final one for the month of October before it gets real spooky with Halloween coming up on Thursday, and we turn the calendar to November. 2 weeks left in the regular season for the high school football side of things. Let's go with my number one Hats Hits. Let's take them in order tonight, 1 through 5. And I have the ability on my screen share for those of you watching on YouTube. We're on IG, we're on Facebook, Twitter, X as they call it, LinkedIn, all over the web. VirginiaPreps.com will be too soon. I'm going to try to do some share screen action for some of you. Those watching on IG, I'll have to read it to you because you won't be able to see this share screen element to this, but we're going to give it a whirl either way. Yeah, we will give it a whirl. Here we go. I think we can make it happen. There we go. We'll zoom in too to make it better for those of you out there that are tuning into this as we share the screen. Number one, we know how stifling the Warwick Raiders defense is now in pitching their 14th shutout since last year, but how about the offense? Junior quarterback Saeed Williams Jr. put on a show with 7 total TDs. And my man Will Garlick, I believe, was there at John B. Todd Stadium in Newport News to witness it. Saeed Williams last week threw 3 TDs to Keon Batts. Tonight, I think he threw those 4 to Julio Character. He also ran for 3 scores, so he had a hand in all 7 touchdowns and a 49-0 blasting of the Hampton Crabbers, who don't ever get blasted like that. I mean, I know Phoebus did it last year in the playoffs with 50-plus on them, but Warwick, this is the 91st meeting between Hampton and Warwick, and the Crabbers have long dominated this series to the point of from 1966 to 2017, Hampton was 52-1 against Warwick. Never before tonight had Warwick put up 49 on the Crabbers, and they did it. And it's a Hampton team that it's averaged 37.9 points per game, so the defense is still stout with Xavier Carter, Isaiah Emery, Christian Corbin, Dwayne Skipwith in that front 7. But Saeed Williams at the quarterback spot, maybe, just maybe, this is the difference for them in being competitive in region championship action in 5B if they do see the Maury Commodores like they did last year and got blitzed. But if you're Warwick, you got to be encouraged because Saeed Williams, with this ability now, dual threat at quarterback, the way he's been balling and efficient, it gives you some hope and gives you a chance to really, really do some damage in the Class 5 picture and maybe perhaps even knock off the Phoebus Films. As crazy as that may sound to some out there, maybe they can do it. Let's go to my number 2 Hats Hits, and we'll share it on the screen again for those that are watching through the YouTube channel and through our Twitter sphere and all over the web. Number 2 tonight, Bull Run District matchup. What hat do you have on? Sponsor? Good question, Coach Barrett. No. Shout out to my guy, Bruce Pearl, Virginia Beach Mustangs. Saw him at the game tonight. Oscar Smith and Kings Fort, which I'll give you some thoughts about tonight, as well as on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, which comes your way 10 a.m. to 12 noon on Cova Sports TV and on IG and on Twitter and on X and on VirginiaPreps.com and all these outlets that you're watching this show on. Bruce, my man, that takes care of my trophies for the Virginia Preps Classic. Big shout out to him. And he hooked me up with the visors. So there you go. Let's also give you number 2 on the Hats Hits. And that is, as we now share the screen again for those of you out there, number 2, props to the Clark County Eagles for gutting out a hard-fought 7-6 win over their Bull Run District rival Strasburg, which was sealed on an interception by All-State linebacker Carson Chin. It's the first 8-0 start for the 2014 Eagles, now a genuine Class 2 title contender. You wear nothing anymore on this show unless it's sponsored. Make money. I'm ready to. Anybody out there wants to sponsor, we'll make it happen. I'm not against that there. My man Ballin VA Podcast. I'm going to be on his show Tuesday coming up, I believe. I think it's in Tuesday. We'll double check that and make sure our date's right. But Clark County, we bumped them up in our Virginia Preps Class 2 top 10 rankings this past week to number 4 in the state. They were number 5 last week. And to begin the season, I put them at number 8. And I was worried that might be a smidge too high. Well, now maybe I'm not worried, but smidge too low. Region 2B, which has got Strasburg, who they beat, who had beaten them the last 2 years pretty comfortably, in fact. I forget the exact margin that they beat them last year, but it was like, I want to say 32-6. It was pretty comfortable. This is good for Clark County to win this type of game because they've been winning with offense, scoring 28 plus. There you go. It says Tuesday. There we go. Thumbs up. To win with the defense, not scoring a lot of points and have to gut it out with the defense, I think it's a big deal for Clark County, which could be on a collision course with my guys out at Poquoson, the Bull Islanders, who have been rolling in Region 2A and got themselves a shutout victory. UNLV's on the board, baby. 5th rushing touchdown for H. Williams. 11:10 to go in the third. Who's watching Suns Lakers? It's too early for the NBA. I'm sorry. Watch yourself some Boise UNLV. That's where the action's at with Ashton Genty, a Heisman candidate. Shouldn't be a dark horse anymore. He should be a real candidate. But Clark County, look out for him. Maybe a state semifinal matchup with him in Poquoson in Class 2. I'm getting that. I'm getting that hunch and suspicion here about a month away from that potentially taking place. All right, go to number 3 on the Hats hits here. As we move it along, we give you some quick thoughts to sign off on the world of college football and maybe NFL, maybe anything else. Baseball, yeah, I know Freddie Freeman hit a walk-off grand slam. That's why we're a little late tonight. I was in an establishment in Chesapeake, which I would mention if they sponsored the show. They could sponsor the show. It's a possibility in the future. And there were some annoying and obnoxious both Dodgers and Yankees fans. And I do have a couple maybe subtle thoughts. We'll save them for Coach Young. And I can't play the clip. Maybe I can play the clip. I don't want to play the clip on Saturday's program. Ed's a Yankee fan, but I loathe the Dodgers. So I don't get any joy and satisfaction, even though I'm letting all of you loyal viewers and listeners and followers down to just rub it in the Ed. I would rub it in a lot better if it was my Diamondbacks or if it was the Padres or if it was the Braves or the Cardinals or the Cubs, or had the Guardians done what they were supposed to do last weekend? They were supposed to. They were so close. Let's go to number 3, get off baseball, because it's just going to get me more frustrated, and I might say something I'll regret on this program. Number 3 on the Hats hits tonight, takeaways, high school football, VHSL football. One of the more impressive wins of the night was posted by Cox, and not just Cox because I picked him to beat Salem, and Ed Young took Salem, so I got another game up on our predictions over him. But because they moved to 7-1, and they ran for 374 yards on the Sun Devils, known for their defense. 49-35, they beat them. Max Palmerton, the quarterback, has 5 rushing touchdowns. Both he and Tyree Jeffries go over $150 in the win, which saw the Falcons the most points ever scored by the Falcons versus the Sun Devils in the 37 all-time meetings. There you go. I got tripped up on my typing, all that stuff there. So there you have it. That's the other Hats hit number 3. Cox, people wrote him off. Some might have when Green Run beat them and blasted them, which you figure they would because they have more athleticism at various positions. That was back on September the 20th, 34-0. And we see what Green Run has done. But Cox, since that loss, 42 on Kellum, 32 on Ocean Lakes, 23 on Tallwood, and 49 tonight. And their offense without a true, what you would call prototype, pro-style, sophisticated passing game, starting to put up some numbers. And I'm looking forward to seeing the Falcons here as we get closer to playoff time. They got a game November 8th at Kempsville. Maybe I'll put that on the docket to go check out. Right down the street from my house. I can walk there, right? Maybe I'll put that on the docket. We'll see. Region 5A, this could be the year that Tyler Noe has them playing for region championship Thanksgiving weekend. Everybody's talking about Indian River and Salem and Kempsville. Cox has got a chance to be 9-1, and he's doing a heck of a job as the coach of that group. And putting up that many points on Salem's defense is mighty impressive. Maybe I was the bad luck charm for Mark Hall, who came on the hash with Hatfield. Yeah, I hate to say that, but maybe I was. And they had the reigning Chicho's Pizza player of the week, and Willie Moore, the running back, who had 3 touchdowns himself. It wasn't the offense's fault. It was the defense giving up almost a 50-burger. And I think that Chicho's Pizza player of the week is going to go to, right now, Saeed Williams of Warwick. He's the front runner for that honor, I would say, at this particular moment. What's number 4 on the Hats hits? Let's see what number 4 is. I forgot what it is. Oh, yeah, we go back to Class 2, Shenandoah District. So I'm losing the focus of many of the viewers from the 757, 804, and 703, but that's okay. They'll come back here with my thoughts here in a second. Let's share it on the screen here for those watching on YouTube and for those watching on X and so forth, but I'll read it to those of you watching on IG with me here. Don't look now, but Stewart's Draft is rounding into form at the right time of the year, notching an eye-opening 42-14 win over Riverheads behind, 282 all-purpose yards, and 3 touchdowns from Landon Graber. Oh, those Graber brothers, those tricky Graber brothers. The other Graber brother had a big game last week for the Shenandoah District team in Stewart's Draft. Most points by the Cougars versus the Gladiators since 1996, and in moving to 7-2, they halt an 8-game losing skid to their Shenandoah rival. Stewart's Draft's in that same region as Clark County. I just talked about it. I saw Buckingham on Tuesday night, and they beat Central Lunenburg pretty good. You got Riverheads, who's won all these championships and played in state championship games. And look, right now, Stewart's Draft is peaking at the right time of the year. You want to be peaking at the end of October, going into November. They've got different ways they can move the ball and score, and that matters to folks. That matters in a big, big way. So that's number 4 on the Hats Hits. And our 5th one, and then we'll give you some quick thoughts from my game, other games around the state, and in sports in general. Let's go to number 5 here as we finish up the Hats Hits, the takeaways, which you can find all the time on X or Twitter at Hatfield Sports. And this is a salute to a young man that deserves a salute, because there are decorated players that come in our state's history in high school sports and in high school football. And the Dinwiddie Generals under Coach Billy Mills, they have won. They've only had one blemish this year, which is to a darn good Maury football team, which is putting up well over 60, 70 points per game. But they won a state championship 2 seasons ago in Class 4. And they have a chance to get back to a state championship in Class 4. They got to get out of Region 4B, which is not going to be easy. We're talking about the Dinwiddie Generals and their quarterback who will play running back at the next level in Harry Dalton. Harry Dalton was a running back his freshman year, got moved to quarterback his sophomore year, and since then he's been putting up touchdowns left and right. And tonight, a salute to Harry Dalton. He breaks the Richmond area record for TDs accounted for with 136 and counting. He surpasses that of former Generals quarterback Adam Morgan. You say, that name sounds familiar. Well, Adam Morgan was the senior quarterback for Dinwiddie back in 2008 when they lost to Taj Boyd and that legendary Phoebus Phantom squad in the state championship, Group AAA Division 5. I was there in the snow at Oscar Smith. I was there in the snow at Lane Stadium in Blacksburg, Virginia Tech, before Oscar Smith won its first ever state title against Osborne. Phoebus won that championship. Adam Morgan had a heck of a career at Dinwiddie. So we're talking about a record that lasted for 16 years. And Dalton's going to Southern Cal. He has cemented his legacy in the 804. And as far as I'm concerned, he's cemented his legacy as one of the best pure football players in the state, bar none. So tip of the visor or the cap or the hat to you, one Harry Dalton, for a job well done. All right, some other quick thoughts tonight from what transpired in Virginia high school football before I give you some other opinions, if you will, perspective on some things in the world of sports. Is that another touchdown for Boise? We got 3rd and goal. It's a goal line, 4th and goal. What are we doing here, coaches? We going forward or kicking a field goal? 20-17. I think he caught that. That's a touchdown, right? If you're not watching, it's on CBS Sports Network, folks. I think that's a TD. I've played with Boise on NCAA football video game. Doing quite well. We're in a college football playoff. They're going to kick the field goal. I would probably go for it. 29-yarder. Anyhow, some other thoughts tonight. I was at Oscar Smith, Kings Fork. Tigers won it 27-12. You'll hear from Coach Chris Scott on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on Cova Sports TV. Oscar Smith was downright incredible in the first quarter. A+, 200-plus yards of offense. Kings Fork had negative yardage. I think Kings Fork might regret not starting DeAndre Artis-Boone at quarterback because when they put him in the second half, he got in a rhythm. And Oscar Smith seemed to hit I don't know if they got bored, hit the snooze button. What happened? Their 3rd and 4th quarter was not as crisp. And I'm sitting there thinking, as you know, I do the rankings, maybe with Hayfield having trouble against Riverdale Baptist and end up losing their game tonight, did Hayfield to Riverdale Baptist a darn good team from Maryland, which is, nationally ranked caliber, if you will, undefeated, and they've got upwards of a dozen Division I studs on their team. Ended up being 55-30. I think it was like 42-23 late in the first half. I'm thinking, well, Oscar Smith right now up 20-0, just cruising. This could be them flipping past Hayfield in the rankings. But second half, Oscar Smith did not do a whole lot in the game. And early on, they established Travis Johnson as a threat on the outside. It mattered, and Kings Fork did not get its running game going. But I have to give some respect. I have some respect for Javon Ford. Though his team lost tonight, the running back for Kings Fork, he gets 80 yards on 18 attempts against that tough defense that was giving up just 4 points per game coming in. He gets a touchdown late as they avoided their first shutout loss in 5 years, which came in 2019 to Deep Creek. Also got shut out that year by Oscar Smith. And I think Kings Fork will recover and be okay. I think they are below right now, clearly, Maury and Warwick. And I had Warwick below them. I'm now admitting that needs to be switched and it will be changed. But again, I feel like Oscar Smith, they're close. They're not there yet. They haven't played a full, complete game. They're there, and they should be at number 2. They're not number 1. Hayfield, I think, will stay number 1 in Class 6. Coach B out there says private school versus public school shouldn't count. Do we say that in basketball? What's the difference in football? Why shouldn't it count? Why shouldn't it count? Some think it should count. F3 Juni says Riverdale Baptist was legit. LOL, studs all over the field. Listen, they had a bunch of studs. In fact, if I go to my sheet here, I can go to my sheet here. So we turn to my sheet here. I've got this. I thought I have it somewhere in here. I've lost it. I've got my sheet somewhere, folks. I hate to bore you all with my nonsense. I think I have it over here, actually. Let's see here. Go through my notes. Here we go. Listen to some of these studs they got. I keep all these papers, folks. You should see my room full of papers and nonsense that I have, as I've now gone out of the studio virtually for all these papers that are disappearing into the camera. So here's some of the guys they got on this team. Wide receiver going to Cincinnati. Defensive tackle Nasir Taylor going to Maryland. Offensive lineman, I think it's Javon McFadden going to Ohio State. Defensive end, Cortez Harris going to Penn State. Defensive back going to UConn. They got dudes everywhere, all over the field. I thought, though, the way Hayfield was playing and Riverdale Baptist offense was not putting up some of the numbers, and again, competition level is different. I thought Hayfield would have a good chance in that game, but didn't quite happen. So, again, we'll see. Tigers, to me, overall, if I'm giving them a grade, I give them about a BB+. It was not an A. That first quarter was A+. And you can see that combination with Lonnie Andrews and Travis Johnson. It's there. The running game has been consistent throughout the year with Brandon Nesbitt and Tajay Curtis. They're implementing other parts of the passing attack. We're seeing Trey Jones get back in the mix. Again, some guys were dinged up earlier in the year. I like what I'm seeing, but there's still more room for growth and more room for evolving. Here we go. Ball and VA says he was at the Hayfield game tonight. Riverdale was hitting on all cylinders. It was early, for sure. And I'd be curious to get your perspective later. We'll chat about this Tuesday, I'm sure, on your show. And this has been the talking point of a lot of people is, would Riverdale beat anybody in VA, whether it's Hayfield, Maury, Phoebus, Oscar Smith, fill in the blank, whatever school we're talking about. And it sounds like from the way they were playing tonight, they'd have a darn good shot to, and the pieces they have. Coach Barrett wants to know, is Ed Yankee Young tonight? Where is he? Don't go hiding. Don't go hiding, Yoki. It ain't over till it's over. Ed is hiding. He is definitely hiding. But I can't take joy and satisfaction in his Yankees losing because my team isn't in there. I was hoping the Guardians would knock them out, and I just can't stand the Dodgers. I can't repeat what you're posting right now. I can't repeat it. But so that was the game I was at. Good game. It wasn't a great classic type of game. I tell you what, there were a couple of games that were head scratchers, a couple of comebacks. Lake Taylor almost came from a monstrous deficit back against Churchland. One of the scores, as I pull up our scoreboard now, which you can find on VirginiaPreps.com, our man Pizza. I got to give Pizza a shout out. We should get him some free pizzas. Someone to sponsor that. Maybe our pals at Chicho's. He does yeoman's work every week, posting up the finals for you minutes after the games end on Friday nights. And there was 2 or 3 scores I wanted to just quickly chime in on that were like, whoa, when I saw them. King George Easterview 42-40. I saw Riverdale will beat anybody in the state for sure. Well, F3 Junie, if that's what you believe, maybe we'll have to get that Riverdale-Maury matchup because Maury's going to say, hold on now, we beat Wise the last 2 years. Wise, we did it. Now Riverdale's going to say, hold on now, that's not Wise is not Riverdale. So maybe that's something that will be in the works in the years to come. Maybe, just maybe. I'm not going to dispute that based on what they did and based on some of the talent looking through our rivals database that they have on their roster, which I just spewed out. I thought Hapeville, because they had not been – I felt like a little bit like I mentioned with Oscar Smith, maybe some boredom. I thought they were bored with some of the teams they played and they would be super up for this game. And obviously so was Riverdale. So I thought I'll admit I thought Hapeville would be up to the test, and they didn't. They were not early. They were not. So I'm surprised that the Hayfield haters haven't come out of the woodwork tonight and just screamed at him. But King George, 42, Eastern View 40. King George lost a lot from last year. I saw them early in the season against Hampton on a Saturday. Had a huge lead, almost let it disappear, up 28. Got a young man going to UConn and Charles Johnson. Some other parts, Simeon Battle, that are good. King George might not go far in the Region 4B playoffs, but what they have shown me in some of these recent results is they're well coached, they're well drilled, and they are going to be in a couple entertaining games. So whoever they draw, whether it be Dinwiddie, Varina, Huguenot, Eastern View again, fill in the blank, they could play one of those games in the 30s or 40s. It's like put the seatbelt on because they seem to do this week after week. And that's a really good win for them over Eastern View, who I thought going in was a smidge better, and they get the job done. This score might not matter to folks. Louisa's in the same region as the likes of LC Bird, who lost tonight to Manchester in Richmond, and William Fleming, who got themselves a great win over Laura Botetourt, and Matoka, who we have number 2 in the state in Class 5 behind only Maury. But 69-0 over Fluvanna. And Louisa's a team people better circle in 5C that could mess up your bracket if you're doing predictions when the playoffs start in a couple weeks, because they got Dajier Carter and Savion Hyder back from Woodbury Forest. Dajier's committed to Rutgers, who's playing Southern Cal tonight, and Hyder's one of the best running backs in America. And if those two guys are clicking and the Louisa defense is making plays, getting off the field on third down, Louisa could do some real damage, and they're never fun to play in the jungle over there at Louisa, which is one of the best environments for a high school football game, bar none. Oh, Ed Young is alive, Lamar. You'll love this. I'm going to need some lady to step forward for some CPR for that Freeman Grand Slam, he says. No lady wants to give you CPR. But if anyone going to beat us, I'd pick Freeman. He's a good, humble dude. He is a good, humble dude, but you cannot say that as a Yankee fan. That's like if a Varina fan says, if anybody from Highland Springs is going to beat us, we want it to be Brendan Peanut Johnson, who had a defensive touchdown tonight. Or if an Oscar Smith guy says anybody from Indian River wants to beat us, we want it to be, Alonzo Mourning. Or a Maury guy says about Granby, or Hampton about Phoebus, or Westfield about Centerville, or, anybody from there. You don't say that. Get your head fixed, Ed. I can see he had some bad cotton candy and popcorn at the ODU game we went to on Thursday night. By the way, while I was up there doing all my autograph signings and talking to people in the press box, I did hit the cornbread pretty good, which was good. Al hit it more than me, though. Big Al, as we know him, Al Capone from the radio station, and some other little goodies they had there in the press box. Sorry, Ed, you didn't get a little badge. I guess you left out. I guess you got left out of the fun. Bad managing, dude hadn't pitched in a month. Nestor, you talking about Nestor the molester? I mean, Nestor Cortez? That was a bad move. But hold on. If they had gone to Clay Holmes, the Yankee fans would have been throwing rocks at him. I can't wait to see what Nick Turturro's done on social media, the Yankee fanatic and actor extraordinaire, who I know Fox featured during the was it Fox? Yeah, during the playoffs, it featured him. I think it was Fox featured him, even though the ALCS was carried on TBS. And Luke Weaver. Where's Luke Weaver? Where's Clay Holmes? The Yankee fans want to second guess Aaron Boone so much. Bad managing. Here's what it came down to. In baseball, you cannot walk these dudes late innings, 9th, 10th inning. If you walk a guy, it will get you beat. Plain and simple. They didn't walk a guy for 9 innings. They walked, was it Gavin Lux before Edmond? I had the game on. I wasn't paying that close attention. I was doing my hats hits. You can't walk a dude. It's going to come back to bite you. And you know what? They should have lost to the Guardians, and it bit them tonight. It didn't bite them in game 5 like it should have, because the Guardians got bit by Juan Soto. He took a bite out of them, and that was all she wrote. They got bit tonight. And they'll probably bounce back and win game 2, and this will be a 7-game dramatic series, and John Sterling will end up, screaming at the top of his lungs, and Ma and Pa Pinstripes will have themselves a rendezvous in the Yankee. Anyways, I'm going to get myself in trouble with what I'm going to say. Couple more thoughts, one more to finish up on the high school football before we get to a couple college football items and an NFL item out there for all of you. And by the way, we got a 757 guy on the field in this game, representing Tony Grimes, former Princess Anne 5-star defensive back. It's 23-17 Broncos with 6 minutes and change to go in the third quarter out there in Vegas. Your guy is the next Joe Mazzulla. I'm not a big Joe Mazzulla fan. I'm sorry. I think the Celtics won in spite of him, and they might win again. In spite of him. By the way, there's 2 coaches I dislike more than Joe Mazzulla in the NBA. One's in Portland, and one's in LA, who's actually a Commonwealth hero from Cave Spring High School. Can't stand him. He wants to insult plumbers like Bob Cousy and people like that. Come on, stop it. That's what Ed's chiming in about. Let's go Notre Dame. Better not throw the ball near Maury great Deshaun Peel getting pick sixes out there, playing the lotto with his pick sixes. You could take your Irish quarterback to the house and say, adios. Notre Dame could be really tight. Double-digit favorite against the midshipmen. Could be a real fun game on Saturday. And it's not the Navy, the pure triple option of Ken Niumatalolo. Say that 3 times real fast without tripping up. Tongue twister. They got a new coach, not Niumatalolo, who I couldn't spell. Have a hard enough time saying it. Coaching them. Notre Dame's a little beat up on defense. Had a couple defensive linemen they lost for the year. They better establish a lot of scrimmage quickly in that game and put Navy to bed, or else I want to see a Navy Army. I want to see one of those 2 get the group of 5 and then have to play each other in the game after they get the automatic group of 5 playoff bid and lose 41-14. That'd just be so great to let people's heads explode about this playoff, and we got to fix this and fix that. It'd just be great. Be great. Oh, no way they're the 2 best coaches in the league. Coach Barrett, what are you drinking this late? I know it's not fruit punch. Something got in your water over there. Hey, it's not good. It's not good to be – that's not good. Very, very, very false statement you had. The last quick one I have on the high school football as we get ready to sign off tonight, or get close to signing off, I should say. And I had it here. Oh, Independence beats Stonebridge 14-10. I don't like picking on schools when they lose because I have tons and tons of admiration for what Stonebridge has done over the years. Same goes for Riverheads. But we talked about it several weeks back about changing of the guard. And I do wonder if now we're getting to a point where some of those teams, the aura and mystique has worn off. We've seen it in different areas of the state and different schools. Salem Mountain, Salem, Virginia has a long history of winning. They don't have maybe the same aura mystique. Hampton High for football had an aura mystique that lost some of it when Phoebus beat them. Certainly the case can be said now with you could look at Stonebridge and Riverheads as a couple of those teams like that. I mean, LC Bird had an aura mystique for a while, and they're trying to get it back to that level. I just wonder if some of that is worn off to where they're not viewed as a dangerous team. Now, I do think they're going to come back because they have a lot of good 2026 talented players there. But another L for them, they're in jeopardy of, I mean, I think they'll get in the playoffs, but my goodness, having a losing record and it being a season to forget about. So we'll see. We'll see what they do from here. They have a couple games to try to pull off a big win. They've still got Briarwoods left on the schedule. If they were to somehow knock them off, that could right the ship for them. But man, that's a game that's winnable. It's 14. They're losing all these games by a couple of points. It's not like they're getting blown out. They're right there. A little different than Riverheads has lost us towards draft tonight. But that one grabbed me a little bit. College football on Saturday. I don't think that the best game is going to be Notre Dame and Navy. Sorry, Ed Young. I think the best game, to me at least, is going to be Washington at Indiana. And you say, why is that the best game? Indiana right now, to me, has the national coach of the year in Curt Cignetti. If Indiana is to win this football game and beat the Washington Huskies, which no longer have Michael Penix playing quarterback, they win this game, the number 13 team in the country, in Bloomington. They move to 8-0 on the season. They'll then go to Michigan State, and I think they can win that game. Then they have Michigan and at Ohio State back-to-back. Indiana, if they can win in their last 5 games, 4 of those games, 4 out of 5, they should punch to the playoff. I guarantee those odds had to be like 250 to 1 or greater that Indiana would make the playoff. What he has done there is remarkable, and Washington is not a pushover. They were in the national championship game just this past year. They're a 4-3 football team that can make its season, turn around its season by beating Indiana. If they play a great defensive game, it's doable. But right now, Hoosiers, it's where it's at. I think they're going to pull it off. I think they're going to make the college football playoff, which you couldn't have paid me money to say before the season. Couldn't have paid me money to say. Couldn't have. NFL this weekend, there's not as many great games as there was last weekend, which pains me to an extent because I couldn't watch all of them in the 1 o'clock window. I had some soccer to call. I will tell you that the game that I'm having the hardest time picking a winner, there's a lot of big, heavy favorites this weekend in the NFL. The game I'm having the hardest time picking a winner, and folks, I'm coming off a 3-0 weekend beating Coach Young, who was 1-2. Bruce had a rough weekend, so I'm catching up to those two guys in the picks. I'm getting my mojo back. I'm getting it back slowly but surely. Bills at Seahawks. Seahawks went to Atlanta and won. The Bills are 5-2, had a slow start, got down 10, spotted the Titans a 10-0 lead, then roared back with 34 and won the game. It's East Coast to West Coast. It is a 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific start. Seahawks have a chance to steal the NFC West, the division that my Cardinals play in. You never know if it's going to be the good Geno or the bad Geno. I think the Bills are a tad overrated, though, still. That's the hardest game for me to pick, and I could end up having to take something on that game. Might not be the winner. It could be the over-under. That's the one there's a lot of games that should be blowouts, though. The Chiefs should spank the Raiders. I know people are looking forward to seeing the Bears and the Commanders to see if Jay Daniels does play, what the deal is there. Cowboys, Niners on Sunday Night Football. Who cares about that? Both are overrated. Both full of hot air, I think. The Browns now have a Jameis Winston, not Deshaun Watson. Lions should take care of the Titans with ease. It's not a great NFL Sunday schedule. Eagles at Bengals is interesting to see if the Bengals can win this and get back on the right track here. This is the game to do it. And the Eagles, see if the hot seat gets warmer for Nick Sirianni. And there's a possibility that happens there. That's a possibility that happens. And of course, on the Eagles, as many of us do know, watching this show, we always have a lot of Virginia flavor and connections back to it. Josh Sweat, who had a sack last week, he out of Oscar Smith High School, part of that Eagles defense. So there you have it. All right, we are out of time. We're not really out of time, but it's almost 1 a.m. Eastern. I'm a little sleepy. And we thank you all for tuning in and interacting with us through all of our channels. You can watch it back later. Archive, 30-plus minutes. We're getting longer and longer with this. The Hats Hits IG Live special will be back with you on Cova Sports TV, 10 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern, looks like, for Saturday. We'll go back to our earlier start time next week so I can get to the Warwick Phoebus game on November 2nd. But interact with us, tune in with us, have fun with us. We'll talk all things sports with you, local, high school football, college football, pro football, some basketball, some baseball, anything you want that's on your mind. Give us a comment, give us a post, interact with us. Have a great rest of your sports night and weekend, and we'll talk to you coming up on Cova Sports TV. Take care, everybody. See you later.